There we go. The business. Enjoy the business. We have done the business, Matt.
Love business.
Next, it's time to swap from business to... I was going to say to pleasure. No, it's time to swap from business to lore.
Absolutely.
Because... Where is this cat from? Where is this cat from, Matt? What does it mean? And is our next expansion World of Warcraft? Cat versus bird?
Yes. Yes. The next expansion is cat versus bird, because the Sapphire Skyblazer was a bird, and now the Sunworn Feline is a cat.
Big.
And cats don't like birds. And there you go.
Yeah, done.
That's our analysis.
To be more serious about it, before you all run away and think that we're just having you on, they consistently have done this. So I was just thinking about the Rune Saber. No, never mind. The Fey Dragon that was sold to us in Mists of Pandaria. It came from the Dracorium in Warlords of Draenor. This has happened numerous times, in fact. Was it the Silvarian Dreamer? Silvarian Dreamer, which quite obviously comes from Ardenweald.
Yes.
Which that was during BFA, right?
Yeah,
so
it was.
Would have been cool to have earned that in game, wouldn't it? So it's this thing, right, where a whole bunch of the store mounts are literally just nabbed from places we have not been to yet. So it's really weird because you look at the marketing copy of them, and they're all talked about in terms of their background in such a bizarre, nondescript way. And then in 1 or 2 years' time, you look back at that and you're like, oh, well, I know where you came from.
Yeah, you're obviously.
I've been there. That's where my Covenant is.
Yeah.
So when we look at these store mounts, there's talking about, you know, the business side and the game content side, but there is also a little bit of lore analysis to be done with all of this. This is quite a fun thing. You had this thought. You went to r/Warcraft lore. Genova Healsbad also had this thought and this incredible theory that Anshe is actually Zoval.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. Cool. Me just going, okay, well, I've got these thoughts about, you know, what could this mean? Going to r/Warcraft lore, and Genova's just went and done all of the thinking that I was going to do that day. I was like, oh, sweet. Great. So
thinking accomplished.
It's it's fun that people are thinking, and that's what I used to like about Warcraft lore before it kind of got into this mire of dealing with current lore, where it was all just people being excited and a lot of people being on the same page, having, you know, independently coming to the same conclusions, and then you're going, oh shit, that means we must be right. I think this is hopefully one of those cases. I really hope their post on Zoval being Anshe gets approved, but for now, this is the more important stuff for now.
So this mount is called the Sunwarmed Feline. Let's take a look at the description. But its favorite places in all of Azeroth happen to be anywhere the sun shines through autumn leaves. The sun. Anshe. So, of course, you are a big lover of Anshe and Musha.
Absolutely.
Could you do us a quick explanation, very, very quick, of what that means?
So, the only real explanation necessary is that Anshe is the sun and Musha is the moon in the mythos of the Tauren. So they have all this mythos back in the day of, you know, the eyes. I can't even remember specifics anymore because my brain's been so rotted. But all of the ideas of these mythical features being, you know, so tied to, you know, a different version, obviously very Native American inspired, but a same version of the Elune story, the Elune mythos that the Night Elves had, but using different terminology and different names and having different little takes. So it felt like all of this unified mythos that could be real. It's just everyone had different names for it. Yeah. So the idea that you've got Anshe after we see for the first time who Elune actually is, and now we're hearing this specific thing about the sun. But it gets a little bit deeper when we go into what the Sapphire Skyblazer is as the other side of it.
That's what's fun. So to continue on, the presence of the giant felines heralds the beginning of the end for the birds of Azeroth. See, World of Warcraft, cats versus birds. But birds of Azeroth. So let's take a look at some of the other store mounts, including the very recent Sapphire Skyblazer. And if we go to its description, it's not quite certain why Sapphire Skyblazers flocked to Azeroth. They burn brighter and hotter than any avian to ever soar across the skies. And then this is where it turns into folk and fairy tales. In the embrace from folk and fairy tales, the blue child disappears, which infuriates Elune. Now, the Blue Child is actually an Allegan technology.
Yeah.
No. The Blue Child is like the other moon of Azeroth.
Yeah, there's the White Lady and the Blue Child.
Yeah. So the Blue Child disappears. She abandons her protection of Azeroth, which leads to environmental catastrophes. She realizes this and returns, only to burn with rage that sets fires across Azeroth. Upon hearing a citizen's song about their dying son, she realizes what she's doing and calms down. So,
Yes.
so the working theory is the next expansion will have themes of Elune versus Anshe, moon versus sun, bird versus cat, light versus light. An epic tale of Stormounts in strife.
Yep.
Put together very well by us by you/Genova Healsbad.
Yeah, it's the idea that, you know, all of this just sort of means Elune had this arc of leaving for a bit, Azeroth suffering without her protection, coming back, and then going, fine, I'll fucking protect you, but then just silently seething and burning the place down, which fits so perfectly with the Skyblazer being, it's not certain why they flocked Azeroth, as in they came out of nowhere. Did they come with Elune in her second coming after that, and then just burned the hell out of the skies? So that obviously makes a load of sense there.
Yeah, there is this thing knocking around my head, though, that's just kind of like, okay, they're going to do full Elune Toronto lore with Anshe and stuff. They're also going to do Tyrallion, and they're also going to do Yrel, and they're just going to do it all at once. And I really hope they don't go over ambitious and shit the bed on it.
I hope not.
But again, you look at the Stormounts, and so many of them do come from the next expansion. They really do.
Yeah, and if it's not obvious enough, I actually went and I'll dump it in here just where we are. So what I've just added to this doc here is an artist. This is from the Silverian Dreamer. An artist in the magical city of Dalaran fell asleep on her brush and dreamed of painting a beautiful feathered dragon. Her artwork leapt from the page, and when she awoke, she found it sleeping gently beside her. Which, you know, sleeping, artistry, Emerald Dream, you know, sleeping, dreams, Ardenweald. The link is very clearly there.
Yeah.
So if they're doing that again with either of these mounts, then there is a clear link that it's written in like the same language, the same tones, where they just don't want to tell us what it literally is, but we'll know what it is.
What about the Vulpine Familiar?
Oh, the Vulpine Familiar? I actually am not sure.
Let's just take a look
yeah,
at the Vulpine Familiar here. Fiercely intelligent and insatiably curious, the species of fox has traveled the great dark beyond to seek companionship with the greatest heroes of Azeroth. Born daredevils make a great... It is a lot more mysterious.
It is also generic. It's kind of hard to pick anything out of that, except for the great dark beyond.
Which basically is saying that this comes in some sort of cosmic-y way, and you know, there's one or two similarities there with you know, some stuff from Ardenweald, given the Silverian Dreamer.
Yeah,
it is very interesting. I wonder. I'm almost tempted to just like click the Stormount button,
buy them all,
and that's it. So we got that. We got the Sapphire Skyblazer, which obviously we went into the lore of. Now,
yeah,
Hogrus, I mean, that's pretty obvious what that's for, right? That's like, that's Chinese New Year.
Yeah, same with Squeakers. Same with Squeakers, who was the rat.
There's the Silverian Dreamer, which came out in BFA and is quite clearly Legion. Wingardian, pretty old. Celestial Steed, pretty old. Fey Dragon, came out in Mists of Pandaria. In reality was Warlords of Draenor. Heart of the Aspects, that came out in Cataclysm. Is a bit more themed around Cataclysm, but in fact was using, I think it was using the rig for the Cloud Serpents.
I believe so, yeah.
Lucky Young, I mean, that's pretty obvious. This was a collector's edition mount, as was this. Iron Sky Reaver, when did that come out again? I think that came out in... that one came out in MOP.
Because that's a WOD model, isn't it? It actually says Bred for War by... by the Iron Horde. So that was a little bit more obviously. So I'm not sure when it came out, but I'm sure you'll find
2014.
out. 2014.
16th of January.
So that was... Did we know about Warlords at the time?
We knew about Warlords as of the 2013 BlizzCon. So
yeah,
that one was actually just completely blatant.
Yeah, that was them going, here's the next expansion. Get excited, please.
Yep. So you know, you look through these and you do just... you do just kind of think, like, there's a few that are, like, a bit more reasonable. Like, I mean, the Steam scale, like, that's obviously Mechagon stuff. Yeah. But you can see there for a number of them that they, they very obviously are coming from future expansions. And that's why, as people who care about the lore and care about where World of Warcraft is going, we do have to look at these store amounts and try to work out what's going on. So, it's interesting, like, Anshe, Musha, the Ilun, the Blue Child, and everything. Just working out what they actually are, because I think we have more of a understanding of Musha than Anshe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of looking into folk and fairy tale for other stories about that. There's a lot of looking into the kind of the deeper stuff in the like Tauren mythos about all of that, and I think almost most importantly, I think this. I know this is me kind of maybe getting ahead of myself a little bit, but if you think about what Steve Denuzer's history is as a writer, it's always been in lore stuff heavily. Yep. It was Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, which was possibly, had very, very clearly insanely deep amounts of lore. Not always executed exceptionally well, but it felt like a decent living world. You went up to the Fae folk and, being on the island of Ireland, just a little bit offended by how obvious it was.
They'll never get us right.
The Tuatha De Danann and whatnot, but it was all clearly deep lore. So I think that from someone who has the eye on lore, if Steve's trying to go, or Steve and the entire creative team are trying to go, okay, well, how do we pull this back to Azeroth? How do we get out of this cosmic soup that people clearly don't like? I think their first instinct would be...
Brave to assume.
Yeah, I mean, it's brave to assume, but following the logic of if they wanted to do that, the first place they might want to go, they wouldn't go to the faction stories, because none of them seem to be political writers. None of them seem to be really heavy on the politics and the intrigue and stuff like that. As much as World of Warcraft always kind of felt a little bit more like that, and we enjoyed that. Personally, we love it. I think it's the mythos. It's the Tauren mythos. It's the Night Elf mythos. To be fair, you could say they've kind of shit all over the Night Elf mythos a little bit, but it's the idea of if they wanted to come back, they would come back to what stories can we tell in this mythological realm, in this lore realm of Azeroth, which is, a little bit more lore rather than story. But I think this is what I'm thinking there. You've got the Tauren mythos of Anshe. You've got Musha. You've got folk and fairy tales, which, they were clearly thinking about fairy tales of Azeroth when they wrote that. So maybe that's a hint at a general direction we'll see going forward. Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe. That's what I think. That's the entire vibe I get from all of this, which is a kind of, maybe they are trying to bring us home to Azeroth, but they won't do it in the way that we kind of think or want, which is to be character focused. Maybe they'll end up going a little bit, obviously they'll do character stories, obviously, but it'll be more that idea of, okay, what can we do with all of this cool stuff that was set up before? How can we recontextualize it, possibly?
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, but are the Eyes of Green? Just saying, what could this cat be up to?
Yep.
Nobody knows. So there you go. That's our next expansion, World of Warcraft, Cats versus Birds.
You heard it here first.